Bible in a year, making it easier to understand.
And we are back. Welcome to day 36 of the journey, everyone. If you're still with us, you are officially part of the Deeper Dive squad. John, I have to be honest, my coffee hasn't kicked in yet, but my heart is racing just from reading these chapters.
Steph, if day 36 doesn't get your heart racing, you might need to check your pulse. We aren't just reading history today. We are watching a big-budget, supernatural thriller unfold. We've got millions of people on the move, a literal God cloud leading the way, and a final boss in Pharaoh who just won't stay down.
It's intense. But before we get to the action movie part at the Red Sea, I was really struck by the beginning of chapter 13. God stops everything right as they're leaving to talk about the firstborn and bread. It felt like, I don't know, pausing a movie right at the climax to explain the credits. Why do that now?
Great question. Think of it as a gratitude reflex. God knows how forgetful we are. He's like, look, before you get 10 miles into the desert and start complaining about the snacks, let's formalize the memory of this rescue. He tells them to consecrate the firstborn because their lives were literally bought back by the blood of the lamb on Passover. It's God's way of saying, your life is a gift, not an achievement. It's like when you get a verified blue check mark on social media. It's God putting his official seal of approval and ownership on this new nation.
I love that. The blue check mark of the soul. But then we get to the travel route. The text says God didn't take them the short way through the land of the Philistines, even though it was closer. Instead, he took them the roundabout way. Why take the long way when you have millions of people and kids and livestock to move?
Okay, this is where the modern mirror comes in. Imagine you're using a GPS, right? Your GPS sees a massive construction zone or a 50-car pileup 5 miles ahead that you can't see yet. God is the ultimate GPS. He knew that if these former slaves, who have a slavish mindset, saw a war with the Philistines immediately, they'd pull a U-turn and run straight back to Egypt. They were physically free, but mentally, they weren't ready for a fight yet. So God gives them a GPS redirection into the wilderness to protect them from a trauma response they couldn't handle.
So the wilderness wasn't a punishment. It was a protective detour. That actually makes me feel better about some of the long ways in my own life. But let's talk about the mobile headquarters, the pillars.
Oh, the pillars are the coolest part. It's a dual theophany, a fancy word for God showing up. A pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. Scholars think it might have been one single pillar that just looked different depending on the light.
So it was like a massive divine nightlight?
Exactly, but more functional. In the desert, the sun is a killer, so the cloud was like a massive shade umbrella. At night, the desert is freezing, so the fire was like a 24/7 heater and light source. It never left them. It was the always-on Wi-Fi of God's presence. It flattened hills and raised valleys to give them a level path. It's God saying, I'm not just leading you, I'm living with you.
That's so comforting. But John, the GPS seems to malfunction at the start of chapter 14. God tells Moses to have the people turn back and camp at Pi-Hahiroth. My research notes say this place was basically a dead end, blocked by mountains on one side and the sea on the other. Why would God purposefully lead his people into a trap?
Because it was a setup. God says, Pharaoh is going to think you're hemmed in by the desert. He wanted Pharaoh to think the Israelites were lost and vulnerable. It's like God was playing 4D chess and using the Israelites as bait to draw the Egyptian army out for one final definitive showdown. He wanted to win glory, which in Hebrew is kaved, meaning weight or significance. He wanted his weight to be felt by the whole world.
I mean, I get the strategy, but imagine being an Israelite mom in that camp. You look up and see 600 epic chariots and the entire Egyptian army charging at you. You're trapped against the water. The panic in their voices is so real. They literally ask Moses, were there not enough graves in Egypt? That is such a sassy thing to say in a life or death moment.
It is peak sarcasm. It's that slavishness coming out again, complaining and blaming the leader the second things get spicy. They'd rather be comfortably enslaved than dangerously free. But Moses doesn't snap back. He gives them the deeper dive word of the day. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have to talk about that stillness in the next segment.
You're doing that thing where you get so excited you start skipping chapters. But you're right, the tension is at a 10 out of 10 right now. Chariots behind them, a wall of water in front of them, and a crowd that is absolutely losing it.
It's a literal no way out scenario. But as we're going to see, when you're between the devil and the deep blue sea, God is usually about to do his best work.
I love that. Let's take a quick break to catch our breath and maybe grab another coffee before we watch the sea part. We'll be right back. And we are back. I hope you all had a second to breathe because we are about to step right into the eye of the storm. John, before the break, you were setting the stage. The Israelites are effectively trapped. Mountains on one side, desert on the other, the sea in front, and Pharaoh's elite, epic chariots charging from behind.
Yeah, the reverse Uno card is about to be played, but right now, the Israelites are in full-blown panic mode. They've gone from celebrating their verified status to basically writing their own obituaries. And honestly, Steph, I get it. We look at them and think, how could you doubt after 10 plagues? But when you see the virus of your past, the thing that used to own you, charging at you with 600 high-tech chariots, your brain goes straight to the trash folder.
It's so relatable, though. I mean, how many times do we feel like we finally made a move toward freedom? Maybe it's a new job, a new boundary, or a commitment to our mental health, and suddenly it feels like the universe is conspiring to trap us? We look at the sea of reeds in front of us and think, I was better off when I was miserable, but safe.
Exactly. It's the slavish mindset. But here's the kicker. Moses drops a line in Exodus 14, verse 14 that we need to pin to our home screens today. He says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still."
Be still. John, in a hustle culture world where stillness feels like losing, what does that actually mean? Because I know I'm not the only one who hears be still and thinks, okay, so I just sit here and get run over by a chariot?
Right? That's the 5th grade rule moment for today. The Hebrew word for still here is charash. It doesn't mean being a doormat. It's focused calmness. It's like when you're in a high-intensity video game and your controller is vibrating, but you have to keep your hands perfectly steady to make the shot. It's a digital firewall for your mind. You are intentionally shutting out the noise of the enemy's threats so you can hear the voice of the strategy.
So it's active trust, not passive laziness.
100%. God basically tells Moses, "Why are you crying to me? Tell the people to move forward." Think about that. The water hasn't even parted yet. God is saying, I'll fight the battle, but you have to walk onto the battlefield. It's that divine/human partnership.
And then the firewall moves. Chapter 14, verse 19, the pillar of cloud shifts from the front of the line to the back. It literally stands between the Israelites and the Egyptians. One side is pitch black for the Egyptians, while the other side is a starry flame giving light to the Israelites all night long.
It's a literal data protection move. God acts as a buffer. He puts himself between your future and your past so the virus can't corrupt the file you're becoming. While the cloud is holding the line, God sends this mighty east wind. Some scientists say it would have had to be over 60 miles an hour to push that much water back. This isn't just a shallow marsh moment. This is the deep being congealed.
I love the visual of the walls of water on the right and left. Can you imagine the sound? The rushing wind, the towering waves held back like they were made of glass. And the ground? It wasn't mucky or muddy. The text says it was dry land.
That's a new creation moment, Steph. Just like Genesis 1, where God pushes the waters back to reveal dry land. He's rebirthing the nation through a watery womb. But then, Pharaoh's army decides to follow them into the gap. Talk about a bad life choice.
I mean, at what point do you see a wall of water and think, yeah, my chariot can definitely handle that?
Pride is a heck of a drug. They get into the middle of the sea, and God starts messing with their wheels. He throws them into a panic. The Egyptians actually realize it. They shout, "Let's flee! The Lord is fighting for them!" But it's too late. Moses stretches out his hand, and God hits the undo button on the entire Egyptian military.
The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. That is such a powerful promise for anyone struggling with an addiction, a toxic relationship, or a cycle of shame. God didn't just give them a head start. He gave them a total deletion of the oppressor.
And that's why Paul in the New Testament says the Israelites were baptized into Moses in the sea. It was a marked moment of transition. They went into the water as slaves and came out as a free nation. They didn't save themselves. They just had to be still enough to let the champion do the heavy lifting.
It's so beautiful. But the crazy thing is, once they hit the other side, the very first thing they do isn't setting up camp or checking their bags. They sing.
Oh, they don't just sing. They throw a lit festival of praise. And Miriam? She's about to lead the original girl group on a victory tour that's been topping the charts for 3,000 years.
I can't wait to get into Shirat Hayam. But first, we need a quick break to let that stillness principle sink in. If you're feeling hemmed in today, remember, God has a firewall for your past and a dry path for your future.
We'll be right back to talk about the hidden gem in the song and why the water turned bitter just 3 days later. Don't go anywhere!
And we're back. I think I've finally stopped shaking from the Red Sea drama, but my heart is still so full. John, we just watched the greatest military rescue in history. The Israelites are standing on the other side, the sun is coming up, and they realize they're actually free. Like, no more bricks, no more whips, free.
It is a total vibe shift, Steph. And what do you do when you experience a miracle that big? You don't just send a thank you text. You drop the first viral hit in human history. We're talking about Exodus 15, the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea. This isn't just a poem. It's the star-spangled banner of ancient Israel. It's how they defined their identity as a new nation.
It's so beautiful. But I noticed something in the text. Chapters 1 through 14 are all prose, like a standard historical account. But then chapter 15 suddenly switches to poetry. Why the change in format?
Great catch. Scholars say poetry is the language of the heart when prose just can't handle the weight of the moment. When you see God move like that, you have to move from reporting to worshiping. And here's the deeper dive hidden gem. Look at verse 2. It says, "This is my God, and I will praise him." In Hebrew, that word for praise or glorify is anvehu.
Anvihu? That sounds like a name. What's the plain English on that one?
It's so cool. The root of anvihu is neva, which means a dwelling place, or even an oasis in the desert. So a lot of ancient teachers say it doesn't just mean I'll say nice things about him. It means I will make a place for God to dwell in me. It's the move from saying he's the God of my parents to saying he is my God. It's making your own soul a mobile headquarters for his presence.
Wow. So the goal of the Exodus wasn't just to get them to a new land, but to get them into a new relationship. But John, we have to talk about the girl group of the Exodus. Miriam steps up with a tambourine, or a hand drum, and leads the women in this massive dance.
Miriam is the absolute goat in this scene. She's called a prophetess here for the first time. And think about this. They left Egypt in a massive rush, right? They didn't even have time to let their bread rise. But Miriam and the women made sure they packed their drums.
Wait, so they didn't have room for a snack, but they had room for a musical instrument?
Exactly. That is proactive faith. They didn't pack the drums because they were hobbyists. They packed them because they knew they'd have a reason to use them on the other side. They were manifesting the miracle before the water even moved. Miriam is the same girl who watched over Moses in the Nile as a baby, and now she's watching the rebirth of the whole nation. It's a full circle moment.
I love that so much. But then, reality hits. Verse 22 says they traveled for 3 days into the wilderness and found no water. And when they finally find water at Marah, it's bitter. John, it has only been 3 days. How do you go from a viral victory song to complaining about the refreshments in 72 hours?
Welcome to the psychology of forgetfulness. We do this too, Steph. We have a mountaintop experience on Sunday, and by Tuesday morning's commute, we're ready to quit everything. They hit a survival crisis, and their slavish mindset comes roaring back. They start grumbling. But look at the solution. God shows Moses a piece of wood. Some translations say a tree, and when he throws it in the water, it becomes sweet.
A piece of wood fixed the chemistry of the water? Is there a modern mirror for that?
Think of it as a healing patch. God wasn't just fixing the H2O. He was teaching them a lesson about his character. He introduces himself as Jehovah Rapha. I am the Lord, your healer. The modern mirror is that God is a God of formation, not just liberation. He got them out of Egypt in one night, but it's going to take 40 years to get Egypt out of them. He's healing their bitterness, their trauma, and their fear one crisis at a time.
And then he leads them to Elim, where there are 12 springs and 70 palm trees. It's like a 5-star resort in the middle of the sand.
It's the abundant provision after the bitter test. God is saying, if you trust the healer, I'll lead you to the oasis.
What a day. From the Red Sea walls to the palm trees of Elim. John, what's our text message summary for day 36?
Here it is. God doesn't just lead you out of your past. He acts as a firewall to protect your future while healing the bitterness of the journey.
Mic drop. Okay, squad, your action step for today is simple. Look at your Red Sea. Is there a situation where you need to be still and let God do the heavy lifting? Write it down, pray over it, and then start packing your tambourine for the victory dance.
We'll see you tomorrow for day 37, where the desert gets even more interesting. Love you guys.
Bye, everyone.